started in our lesson. We're in Proverbs this morning, chapter 23. Casey, I can't keep up with you. Last night, today you're over there, and now you're over there. And, everybody else is like staying in their assigned seats. And Casey is just jumping all over the place. It's good to see everyone this morning. Before we begin, let's go to God in word of prayer. Before we do that, any updates on our sick? I know Lynn Freeman has scheduled for the 24th for surgery, and that would be tomorrow. No, that can't be the 14th. Wednesday. When did I have the 14th? That's today. Wednesday? Okay. All right. So, outpatient surgery, yes. Any update on Bill Bailey? Anybody be able to get with him?
I tried to call him yesterday.
Okay. Okay.
He's not doing really good. He's pretty bad. Really.
Okay. All right. Let's remember him in our prayers. See what maybe we can do. Anyone else?
We've got an update on Terry and Lloyd. Anybody?
I do not have
We went saw them Friday. They seemed in good spirits.
Okay.
And seem to be doing pretty well.
still working, trying to find Lloyd rehab.
He's going to speech therapy.
Is he?
And
Okay.
that seems to be helping some.
Good.
But they're not really letting him drive anywhere.
Right.
They're kind of watching him because they're afraid he might wander and get lost or
Gotcha.
something like that.
Gotcha.
And that's why Terry's staying at home, because
Yeah.
she can't leave him by
Right.
herself. She's doing really good, but she can't leave him.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's go to God in prayer. Thomas, would you lead us in our prayer?
Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this time that we have today to study from your word. And we pray, Lord, that you help us to focus our minds, what we are going over today, help us to make applications so we can leave this place later and leave it better than we entered. We thank you, Lord, for all that you blessed us with. We thank you for your Son, the sacrifice he was one making on the cross for our sins. Father, we know that we have all sinned against you and have fallen short of the expectations you have set for us. And we pray, Lord, for your forgiveness and to ask you, Lord, to help us to work, to do better, and become better servants for you. We ask you, Lord, to be with those who we've just now been mentioning who are dealing with various struggles in life. We ask you to be with them, Lord, to heal them, to comfort them, and if it is your will, Lord, to bring them back so we can worship you with them again soon. We again thank you, Lord, for all of your blessings. We pray these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We are on Proverbs, the 23rd chapter, verses 24 and 25. The last week, we've been studying about, we're in the idea of the family, and we're looking at difference between a wise son, a foolish son, could be wise daughter, foolish daughter. We're going to fixing to, after this particular one, we're getting into the idea of parents and what the Proverbs has to say about that. So it says in Proverbs 23, beginning verse 24, "The father of the righteous will greatly rejoice, and he who begets a son, and he who begets a wise child will delight in him. Let your father and your mother be glad, and let her who bore you rejoice." I'm having a hard time reading this morning, so we'll eliminate that and get y'all to read. So this is kind of a culmination of what we just went through last week. Probably should have delved into this last week, but still, what do we get out of this compared to thinking about what we had last week? Probably a review, kind of, sort of.
Children have a major effect on the happiness and the well-being of their parents. They choose to be
Okay. Last week, we talked about uh, in Proverbs 10:1, the heavy heart of a mother with a foolish child, the grief of a father with a foolish child or unrighteous child. And here it talks about the delight of a wise child and all. And, you know, that throws a responsibility on who?
Parents are teaching their children.
Those responsibility on parents, those responsibility on what? Who else? The children, you know. And when we're talking about children, I don't think we're talking about a wise son and our foolish son at the age of 5, you know. Or maybe 10. Maybe 20 or, and on up when we see our children making what we see as unwise decisions.
But he starts them at an early age though.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna, yes, yes. All of that begins when?
From birth.
A week after they get home? A month after they get home?
Yeah.
You know, when do we start? At 5 years we start training them? No, we start immediately, right? So when, you know, so they, you know, because our children can train us real quick. Can't they? You know, they can work us. So it is a joy, and fathers and mothers can rejoice in the delight of a wise child. Anything else on that? I wish we'd covered that last week, but we didn't have time. Okay, let's look at our next proverb is chapter 11, verses 29 and 30. Courtney, can I get you to read verses 29 and 30, please?
Whoever troubles his own household will inherit the wind, and the fool will be servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and whoever captures souls is wise.
Okay. So what's this telling us? What does it mean to trouble your household?
Bring trouble to his family.
I'm sorry, do what now?
Who that bring trouble to his family.
Okay. So what does it mean to trouble your family?
Causing problems.
Causing problems? Okay. Who is this talking about?
I'd say the parents.
Okay.
It reminded me of do not provoke your children to wrath.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And we're looking at it we probably could use it from the child standpoint, but right now we're looking at the idea of parents, and we're kind of delving into that. So provoking your children to wrath? How else? What are some practical applications that we don't want to use?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do to trouble your household.
Okay, such as?
You could be a poor manager and the funds of the house, you could swindle away and cause trouble on the family. I mean, they may come cut your power and water off because of decisions you made.
Okay,
That's pretty troubling.
it is. It can be, yes.
On the flip side, you could also be a workaholic and never be there to support and guide.
Okay, good point, good point. Anything else?
Anger and like wrath.
Okay.
Not dealing, I mean, it's paralleled with the fool. So really, any of the stuff we've learned about foolishness would apply here. That your foolishness has an impact on your family.
as a parent, what are our responsibilities to our children, our family, our household? What is that responsibility,
To
Charlie?
bring them up the way of the Lord.
Okay,
I was thinking to be a good example, in Proverbs 15:27, a verse related to this one, it says, "Whoever is greedy for unjust gain troubles his own household, but he who hates bribes will live." So a dishonest parent is not living the right example, and dishonesty is always going to bring troubles down the road.
okay, good point.
There
Anyone
should
else?
be discipline in the house, but it should be in a very loving way, how the household is run.
Okay. All right, what else?
It kind
Keith?
of,
I'm sorry, go, Keith.
Possible center point of everything that we've talked about is just selfishness of a parent. That's how you bring trouble. You don't think about the consequences of your decisions. You put yourself, your needs ahead of your family, your needs ahead of theirs. In discipline, you're more concerned about them getting out of the way of the TV or not embarrassing you in the shopping center. It's time to discipline. And that's your whole idea of discipline. That's got nothing to do with them and all to do with you. So I think the biggest point is a parent, for a parent, is to be one that puts the family ahead of himself and finds ways to season his speech, use wisdom and judgment in his correction, in the way to keep a child from provoking him to wrath. Generally, some parents want to make a big scene in the middle of a lot of people when they spank. Some parents have the wisdom to say, you can mark this down at 5 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to spank you. And it'd be in the privacy of our house, and that's quietly said to them. That's just some methods, but it's all about a parent making it about the children and the wife and the family and the household over himself.
Okay, good point. Casey, do you have?
yeah, the idea of you reap what you sow is in this text. You trouble your house, you inherit the wind. If you're wise, then the fruit of righteousness is a tree of life. So there's kind of you reap what you sow in this. Like if you choose to be wise and you choose to deal with your family in a wise way, you're going to have a tree of life that's going to bud and provide fruit for you. And I found it odd, the last sentence, and he who wins souls is wise. What do you think about that sentence? Why is that there, and what does that mean?
What verse is that at?
Well,
End of verse 30. He who wins souls is wise. That's what.
Oh, I was trying to find when.
through our righteousness and our wisdom, that's our way to going back to the Lord and pleasing, like, well, like here it says recovering the lost tree of life, so.
Okay, so when we look at that, I like Casey's idea of what he's asking there, whoever captures souls is wise. Okay. When I had my first child, I was 22. I think I was 22, 21, 22. I look back now, I was a child trying to raise a child. Okay? I had no concept, and most of us in this room, with the exception of a few, have children, older children. We've grown, or we have children that we're bringing up right now. So there's a lot of people who can tell us how to do it because, one, they've done it right or they've done it wrong, and they can tell us what to do or what not to do. Or we look at these scriptures and all. So when I'm young and have children, because most of us are younger when we have children, uh, I think it's imperative that we try our best to figure out beforehand or early on the stage, what's our goal? You know, what do I want my child to be? Do I want him to be a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever? Or do I want him to be wise and righteous and loving God? You know, those are some things that I don't think I thought about when I was 22 having a child. You know, Dee Dee and I always thought we were babies having babies. You know, we were 22-year-old babies having babies, but we were babies because we had no concept of some of this. And we didn't think about, you know, I didn't think about some of these things when I was, you know, raising my children. So, you know, by the grace of God, they all turned out pretty doggone good. But, you know, hey, I think it's imperative that we start thinking about these things and teaching our young parents, maybe before you become a young parent, start thinking about these things and how learning, you know, he who troubles his house. If that's the father, I need to be thinking about how can I not trouble my house? How can I bring my children up knowing God? And how can I be probably what has been the wrong example? How can I be the right example? Because, you know, in discipline, we'll get into discipline in a minute, but, you know, I knew one way, you know. So, Butch?
If you take what you say, the perfect example of that is our Heavenly Father, our spiritual Father. He, first of all, provides. He planned well ahead a way for us to escape the sin. He educates us. He trains us. And then if we're trained in a way from go and we make a mistake, he disciplines us. He corrects us. Now, if we take the example of our Heavenly Father and put it in our life, like you say, I was 21, I was a year younger than you, but I felt the exact same feeling you felt. You know, you never think about the heavy responsibility that raising children is that. God took this on, we can take it on in the same way.
And you know, when we were young having children, I didn't do what I thought was wrong. I thought I was doing right, you know. I only maybe knew one way to deal with it, you know, or whatever. So, you know, looking around and trying to find wisdom, you know, go to someone wise, go to someone older who's gone through that. Miss Betty?
Yes, I don't think all children have different personalities.
Sure.
Even though they're born by the same parents, they've got different personalities. And I said one time, I raised my children up the same way. One was giving me a little trouble, the other one wasn't giving me any. And Brother Harris said to me, you can't raise two kids the same way.
Yeah.
Your father-in-law.
My father?
Your father-in-law told me that you cannot raise
Oh, okay.
two kids the same
Brother
way.
Bill Weatherford, not Harris.
I mean, your father.
Okay, get that straight.
Yes. I'm sorry,
That's okay. But we can't, you know, because they're different personalities, you know, different ways of dealing with things.
I think when
Jennifer's husband.
I think when you have kids, the kids really watch you and feed off of you, who you're hanging out with. And when they grow up, usually they'll pick those kind of friends who you've been hanging out with. You know, Christian you go the other way, they're gonna see, they're like little recorders. They watch and do everything what you're doing eventually. That's what I think.
And they see the negative and
Yes.
expound upon it. So what we're seeing here, he troubles his own house, could be our examples we're given, our way of life, our friends, the way we discipline, the way we, many things could be a way that we trouble our own house,
It's what our priorities is.
Okay.
Those kids are gonna see it.
Yes.
If our priorities work, they're gonna see that. If our priorities money, they're gonna see that too, with
Yeah.
what we buy and how we act. So,
Yeah.
I think what you said earlier, new married couples here, they should have a class right away, even before they're thinking about kids, on how to start it.
And it'd be good, it would be good. Anything else? Oh, Roger.
Well, verse 30 sort of expresses the opposite idea. Instead of troubling one's house, you're a righteous example. And in doing that, then you set the godly example for your children so that their souls are one,
Okay,
so to speak.
good. Yeah, too many times we get stuck on the negative aspect of this, but yes, you're right. Be the righteous example, the godly example. Anything else? Verse 22 and verse 6. Everybody knows that by heart, right? Keith, will you read that?
Train up a child the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart from it.
Okay. Expound upon that. Somebody? Is this a dead set, according to the passages we've been looking at, is this a dead set? Proverbs are what, generalities?
I think it's dead set.
Dead set, okay.
Is it a guarantee? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, is a guarantee.
Let me define dead set.
Okay, dead set, go for it.
My definition, I believe that we have millions of interactions and decisions to make in raising a child. And I'm convinced if we make all 1 million of them correct, that child's going to hang straight, that God has given the wisdom in the scriptures and the wisdom in me to make choices that way. It's the same thing he did with mankind.
Yeah.
To a degree. However, I'm not going to make 1 million decisions correct, and I'm not going to be consistent. And the reason I like to think of this as dead set is it puts the responsibility on us as parents to do our very best, to realize that the consistency we give, the inconsistency we give, will pay out one day. Now, we're all inconsistent, we're all imperfect, and we have to have God's mercy and grace so that we can be faithful to our Father. And our children will also have to have that same thought process with us. We have to have the mercy and grace to them. But I'm still convinced that God, that the scriptures are that powerful, that the truths are that real, that the guidance given is that complete, that if somehow or another we could miraculously live our life perfect like Christ lived his, that we would have success. Now, that's just an opinion.
Gotcha. Comments?
I had on there with a proper instruction and training. A child can have a great future and a good, successful life.
Okay.
If we train them right, bring them up, they got a good life ahead to be successful.
They've got a lot of information to start it out, don't they? Butch, you look like you had a question. A statement.
Christ was a perfect example, and he taught, he loved, but still many rejected him. Even if
That's
you're
fine.
a perfect parent, I still think you can be rejected and they go another way. Just because a child does not turn out, doesn't mean all the responsibility was on the parent not parenting in the
Right.
correct way. It could be, I mean, that could happen too, but sometimes the responsibility is on the child. The child has responsibilities, just like the parents have responsibility. And he has the free will to reject or not reject.
And because a child may, we know he can make those choices, doesn't negate our responsibility to continue being the proper example and training and teaching and all like that. I've battled with Keith's idea on that. You know, I battled with it again this morning when I was looking at this. I wasn't the one that wanted to bring it up, but that's why I'm asking the questions. Thank you, Keith. But, you know, yeah, we look at those. If I was the perfect one, but Christ was the perfect one, and the ones he brought up, even Judas betrayed him, you know, others rejected him. So, you know, I battle with that. I still battle with it, and that's why I'm still mulling over it. Casey?
Whenever I read this text, I think we tend to jump immediately into salvation. You know, we jump immediately into the spiritual. Whenever, yeah, the spiritual is there. We've looked at that throughout Proverbs, but, you know, the immediate application is more so about being a foolish person versus being a wise person, I think. I feel like that's probably the focus. Train up the child in the way they should go is basically saying wisdom begets wisdom. You show the child wisdom, they're going to see the value of wisdom, and they're going to choose wisdom. And when he is old, he will not depart from it is kind of showing you set habits in place that should last them the rest of their life. You set wise habits in your children, and they will continue along those lines. It kind of removes the thought of temptation to sin or any of those types of things coming in and interacting with your child and causing them to be deceived and to choose a different path or anything along those lines. It's just kind of, the focus is on the parent, saying, parent, if you set a good course, then they are going to follow that course for the rest of their lives. And those habits that you instill in them, they will have those habits forever. Now, the spiritual side can be there and should be seen as a possibility and a likelihood, but I don't think anything is necessarily guaranteed with any of these things.
Okay. Ms. Freddie? I'll get
I think, you know, God give everybody common sense, but everybody don't use common sense. You know, you don't get common sense from a book. You get common sense from God.
Okay.
Because I don't care how much book sense you got, if you don't have common sense, that book sense is not going to do you much good. So the thing is to train a child to use his common sense.
Okay. Ma'am?
As I think about my life, you know, and what parent can say that they did everything right toward their children? Yeah, I failed in some ways with my children. I'm sorry for that, but I don't know how anybody could probably say that they did everything just right for their children.
And that's, yeah, I mean, we have flaws, and we make those mistakes. You know, I'm right in the same boat you are. You know, I made mistakes. Yeah.
Well, there's people that, like Casey said, they show the life, they live the life, and then when the child becomes a young adult, you know, sometimes they choose a different path. But deep down in their soul, I don't think they ever lose what they've been taught. If it's been taught over and over and over their whole, say, 18 years of life before they teens sometimes when they get out and they go to college or go to work, or, you know, they choose themselves. And sometimes it's not really the right choice, but that doesn't mean eventually they might come back.
You know, let me give some kudos to whoever the parents are. We have, you know, several people. Thomas is here, and Claire, and Justin, and Rachel. You know, those have been, as they have left their home and now are out, away from mom and dad, are at school, you know, it's refreshing to see their faithfulness to be here, you know, and kudos to y'all because of that, because it's, you know, many times we will see a family come in, bring their child maybe on the first Sunday that they're here, and we might see that child once or twice, you know. But to have, that shows, to me, that shows something about your parents' upraising, you know, and the fact that you would, when we're away from mom and dad, we're away from all our normal peers, you're still serving God and all. So that shows something in their raising, whatever. Keith.
I was gonna, basis of my thoughts are on a lesson I heard one time, and I think someone added some words to it to just explain it. And they also said, what if it read, mostly train a child in the way he should go? He will mostly not depart from it.
Yeah.
Poorly trained, and he will probably quickly depart. You know, it's just it's a relative thing that says the more we train, the more likely of their faithfulness. And I think what's important, what's interesting in this passage is we always talk about that age of accountability when they get out of the house and then they can do what they want with their free will. But this is saying when he is old, he will not depart from it. This is lifetime standards and a basis of right and wrong and the morality that is a natural thing that we're supposed to be carrying down to our kids. And that's what would be there. So I always state that thing just to make people think about it. You know, and as I stated, no one has ever perfectly trained a child. Okay, so, but there's plenty of children who've been faithful, even into their old age. So it's still working, but it does give us the emphasis that we need to do our very best of training. And we don't need to take it to the other side. That's the reason I don't like to make a general rule. That's a general rule kind of stuff. That just takes the pressure off the parent. If they mess up, it's their fault. No, I think as the parent, we always have, until they're old, we have a responsibility. I can tell you one thing, I know when I'm doing something wrong, and I know that, and I always tell people this at a funeral, you think your mom was powerful when she was on earth? Wait till she goes in heaven. She's with you every second of your life, and every decision you make, every thought you have, you know, the things that, the principles that I was taught will always be there. And that's the reason I say that. It's just it brings the topic up better than it is an infallible statement.
All right. Good. Let's turn to Proverbs 29:15. Well, we're gonna hit those next two together, because we're gonna look at 29:15 and then 29:17 and bring them together and talk to them as one. So who would like to read that for me, Martine?
Which one, 29,
15, well, go ahead and read 15, 16, and 17. Well, I tell you what. Tony, you got it?
The rod and a rebuke give wisdom, but a child who gets his own way brings shame to his mother. When the wicked increase, wrongdoing increases, but the righteous will see their downfall. Correct your son, and he will give you comfort. He will also delight your soul.
Okay,
No, okay.
delight your heart, the soul, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, this idea of the rod of correction, the rod and reproof give wisdom in verse 15. What is that rod? How big is that rod? How big of a pole do we have to carry around with us for that?
Thinner the better.
The thinner the better? Okay.
You know, I always thought of that rod of correction in a negative way. Instead of thinking of it as a rod that maybe, the staff that the shepherd takes, has. And what does he do with it? He guides and he directs and he encourages. So it wasn't negative, it was something that was very positive. And so I think when we think of the rod of correction, we need to be sure that we're doing it in a positive manner and something that will encourage the child and not tear them down.
Okay. Good point.
Casey says thin, I say carry a big stick.
Sort of along with what my sister said,
You're just taking her side, right?
Is a symbol. It's the rod of correction, but you can also turn it around and say it is the correct rod. There is a correct way to discipline and an incorrect way. And we should distinguish between the two, and we, as a society, we know we have a lot of these problems with the rod of correction. And some people look at it as exactly what it is. You have to take a stick or a paddle, and
Right.
you have to use it. And when I was young parent, I believe that. You know, that's the only way that's the way you should discipline.
Right.
That's the correct way. But there are many other ways. It depends on the circumstances, the child, but a lot of different things come into the correct way of discipline. And I think that's probably the way that we should look at it.
That means, man, I gotta figure all this out as a parent and correct the correct way instead of just using one way and
Oh,
beating
yeah.
them all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, oh wow, there's work here. There's a process here, there's work, there's a responsibility put on me as a parent to choose the right method of discipline. Miss Betty talked about, I don't necessarily, I learned it probably better with my girls than I did with my boys, and I've asked my boys to forgive me for beating them so much. Shirley used to get on to us all the time when we'd take them out to correct them, but,
Sure got on everybody.
yeah, but now I've got to start thinking about this. If they're doing this, what's the best way to deal with it? Is it a belt, or do I let it go till I get angry and mad and I correct it the wrong way? So
Too late.
wow, there's a responsible element of being a parent. Oh my gracious.
I remember what was so devastating to me is when I got in trouble, they said, okay, this is gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. Give me your belt. I didn't wanna wear that belt for a week. It really devastated me, but I didn't do that problem again.
Yeah. Casey.
One of the things I usually have overlooked in the past and recently started to pay attention to is, it says, the rod and rebuke give wisdom. I
Right.
tend to focus on the rod
Right.
and not the rebuke. And so I've thought about that a lot because we giving that kind of explanation.
Keith?
You know, when we look at this passage, we always look at, like I said, the rod, it's been stated.
Right.
You might forget the rebuke, but there's a statement after that that's just as strong. And it's just as important. And it's that a child left to himself is gonna bring the shame. So it's the involvement in a child's life. It's the knowing, you know, knowing about them real well, knowing what would change behavior with them. You know, the worst thing in the thought in the world would be to correct them and then realize you're wrong. Whether it was verbal or, you know, spanking or something, that they realize that a parent can be wrong. And the more we know them and don't let them live out in a world by themselves, the better job we're gonna do correcting them. So the latter part of this verse is, you know, I'm not saying it's more important than the front part, but it's at least equally as important, and we don't need to forget that part. That's the failure, because we could just use the rod and not know them well, and we would just be beating them the rest of their life. And but if we get to know them and we get involved in their life and don't let them do things on their own like that without supervision and keeping up with them, so that today this is about filters on their internet and those type things, because they are young and naive, and they get in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of predators who are looking for them. There's friends at school, there's access to things that we would blush to even know what all is one fingertip away from. And that's why it's so important that we get involved in their lives. And that's probably the most important, that and consistency. And then as far as the rod, I can tell you from someone sitting real close to me right now, patient persistence is incredible. It does a lot of good. And the idea of patience means I'm spending time with them. I'll sit here with you all day long until we get this corrected. And that's way more powerful than for most, than any beating. Some just have to be, you know, there's some mules, you gotta whop them upside the head. I'm just kidding. Corey's never been
Use the bigger rod, right?
Yeah, bigger rod.
But you know, I think it's important we look at that second part of verse 15, you're right. Brings shame to his mother, a child left to himself. We just studied all last week about the child that is foolish and mocks and brings heartbreak to his parents. Well, maybe it's because maybe it's because I did not use a rod or a rebuke or reproof to them, discussion. There was no discipline, you know. And we see that in our society right now, and we look at it and think, man, were they ever told no? You know, our world out there, and it's like, whoa, you know, it's scary, you know. But thankfully, I had parents that, you know, I knew what the rod was. It was that. If you ever heard that, a belt come out of 6 belt loops all at once, that was my rod. Or my mom telling me to go cut a bridal wreath, a bridal bush stick off. You know, that was the thin one. Melvin?
Yeah, I grew up, you know, there was the belt and the razor strap, but you didn't use that on the little kids, you know, but you could get a little switch, you could get a little switch, and you could get their attention with the little switch, you know. But there are ways, and the scripture will tell us later on, I think, that it's not gonna kill them, you know. You're not gonna kill them with it, but they do need that when they grow up.
Well, in our next Proverbs, we get to, I don't want to get it before we're over with, because we're almost finished with this class. Tom, I don't see Sean here. Tommy, can you? Proverbs 13:24 says, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly, or is careful to discipline him. So the idea that, you know, if we love our children, we're going to correct them. Are we not? We're going to train them. We're going to do the best we can to make sure they know the right way. One, that they know God. Two, they start making wise decisions and able to function, with other children. And as they get old, they become functional in our society, Keith?
I'll throw one quick one on you. I've got a neighbor that's got a Mastiff. It's a huge, biggest dog you've ever seen. in your
Yeah.
life. They've got a garage, and they open it occasionally, and you can see him in there. I promise you, they keep him in the pen with a 12-inch fence.
Yeah.
It looks like a puppy fence.
Uh-huh.
And that dog can just stand up, and if the fence is not even up to his first elbow, he can just step over it.
And he
but
don't.
He doesn't, because he was taught early,
Right.
when he was only 12 inches tall, he was taught that he stays within his fence.
Right.
And I think that the point that's important to make is, it is easier to make those corrections early in their lives,
Yes.
because the correction is always easier than it is to make it when they're 16, 17, 18, or 14 now, or 12 now.
Yes.
Which is the new 16.
All right, thank y'all.